A petition calling for the government to cancel Brexit has had the highest number of signatures on record. Over 1 million people had signed it by lunchtime.
Yeah, that move would certainly concern many voters in Lancashire, the only county in the northwest where every single district voted to leave. Our political reporter Hannah Miller has been to a chocolate factory where they are already stockpiling supplies.
A county that grew up on cotton, coal and holiday crowds, Lancashire was for decades at the heart of the Industrial Revolution.
What a wonderful sight for landladies. They'll be doing a roaring trade if the weather keeps up the good work.
But as the world moved on, those industries declined. These days, the political landscape has shifted. This chocolate factory in Preston has stood through it all. For almost 100 years, they've been melting and moulding, exporting ever further to Europe, Canada, America and Japan.
We've had to bring quite a lot of stuff in early and we started making the product too.
Here they're already making plans for Christmas, this time with no idea what even next week will bring.
The uncertainty that we are living through at the moment is already fairly damaging. We've had to order in something like 20 tonnes of Brazil nuts much earlier than we normally would. We've got to give out prices to people for the products that they're going to be having. We don't know what our raw material costs are going to be ultimately. This lack of certainty is what's really making it very, very difficult to do business in this environment.
And this kind of mixed messaging isn't helping.
We will leave the EU on the 29th of March.
Yes, we're coming out of the EU on the 29th of March.
I am not prepared to delay Brexit any further than the 30th of June.
So how did that go down in Blackpool, the town where more than 2/3 voted to leave? Robert Wynne transformed this pub. He says endless Brexit discussion is a distraction from the transformation the whole town needs.
I could make a long series of arguments about why it's sensible to remain, but people just trump it straight away and say, don't you love your country? It was a narrow vote to leave, 52-48, so let's leave in a moderate way. Then at least we can start talking about something else, because if you're in a place like Blackpool, there's so many other things that are important.
When you hear this talk about a possible extension, what do you make of that?
Absolutely horrified. The MPs have completely lost the plot.
That was what was voted for, that was what we should do, and we should just come straight out.
A lot of people do say, though, that leaving without a deal will make things even worse.
That's a load of rubbish.
I think it's a little bit confusing. We don't all know a lot about it. I think we should have got told a hell of a lot more than what we did. So we need something good for Blackpool at the moment. We're quiet to what we used to be, so I'm hoping maybe it'll bring more people in.
In the days after the referendum, many were quick to claim that the vote to leave the EU was in fact a vote against the so-called elite, a wake-up call for Westminster and for those who'd prospered since the UK joined the EU. It showed, they said, the divide between the people and the politicians. Nearly 3 years later, to many here, Westminster looks like a completely different planet. Across the country, many are convinced that the government has lost control. People in places like this need to feel that they have taken it back. Hannah Miller, ITV News.